Hello management aspirants, this video will give you insights into how to crack the TISSNET. The session would include the following: introduction, test pattern, sample questions and preparation strategy. TISS stands for Tata Institute of Social Sciences, Mumbai. It offers a wide range of master's programs at various campuses. MA in Human Resource Management and Labor Relations is of prime interest to management aspirants. In fact, the MA in Human Resource Management and Labor Relations program offered by TISS is one of the most aspirational ones for MBA enthusiasts. TISS has its own national entrance test known as TISSNET. It will be held on Saturday, January 9, 2016 for the academic year 2016 to 2018 from 2 p.m. to 3:40 p.m. So the test duration would be 100 minutes. The selection process for the academic year 16-18 comprises of 3 steps: national entrance test, computer-based examination, descriptive type written test, and personal interview for all programs. Let's look at the test pattern. TISSNET is a computer-based test of objective type. So it will have multiple choice questions with multiple options and you have to pick the best option. The test has questions related to general knowledge, analytical ability, logical reasoning, and English proficiency. TISSNET 2015 had 100 questions to be attempted in 100 minutes. So it narrowed down to 1 question per minute. The 3 areas of assessment were general awareness, mathematics and logical reasoning, and English proficiency. General awareness. This section had 30 questions carrying 30 marks. Questions were generic in nature with a wide diversity of topics. So whereas previous years saw a predominant number of questions from social sciences, 2015 included a wider diversity of topics in terms of sourcing the questions. Questions were sourced from history, both India and world, giving 8 questions, polity with 7 questions, sports 5 questions, books and authors 4 questions, fine arts and music 5 questions, and movies 1 question. So that makes it 30 questions. 50% of the questions were therefore sourced from history and polity put together. And therefore these areas need special care while preparing for the TISSNET. In fact, the general awareness section is a critical section in terms of performance differentiation. Mathematics and logical reasoning. This section had 35 questions carrying 35 marks. Questions were easy to moderate level in terms of difficulty quotient. More than 50% questions were sourced from sets, predominantly Venn diagrams, geometry and mensuration, and series, both numerical and word. Other areas included percentage, time and work, time, speed and distance, ratio and proportions, number theory, permutation and combination. Therefore, I think one could say with conviction that the questions were predominantly from the modules of arithmetic, geometry, and set theory, Venn diagrams. An attempt of 28 to 30 questions with good accuracy was desirable. English proficiency. This section had 30 questions carrying 35 marks. There were 6 types of tasks. 5 of them had 5 questions, each carrying 1 mark each. The 6th task was a passage with 5 questions, each carrying 2 marks. Questions were sourced from the following areas: analogies, fill in the blanks, reading comprehension, paragraph formation, inappropriate usage of words. In fact, an attempt of 30 to 32 questions with good accuracy was desirable. So TISSNET 2015 basically saw these 3 areas which I just talked about. There were no sectional time constraints, and one could start with any section, any question. So obviously it was recommended that the candidates should have started with their strong areas and then built on with the passage of time. In fact, the general awareness section would be a low involving section in terms of time management, whereas maths and English proficiency would therefore require more time. So one was required to balance out the time devoted to each of the sections very judiciously so as to improve the overall score. So an attempt of 85 with good accuracy overall was desirable in TISSNET 2050. Sample questions. English language proficiency. Which of the following expresses a similar relationship to the one given below? Destitute, wealthy. Let's look at the options. Angry, rich. Tacky, graceful. Native, affluent. Scholarly, erudite. If you look at the given pair, you will easily figure out, if you know the meaning of the word destitute, that the relationship is one of an antonym. So destitute would mean poor, and wealthy, of course, would mean moneyed. So the only option which is similar in relationship is option B, where tacky would mean someone who lacks style and grace, and graceful is the opposite. So the answer is option B. Fill in the blank with the most appropriate option. After several dash attempts to send the missile into space, the spacecraft was finally successfully launched. 4 options given there: experimental, abortive, difficult, preliminary. Now, the catchword, the keyword is successfully launched, which therefore meant that the blank would be best filled with a word which would mean unsuccessful, or a word which would mean unable to produce the desired results. So abortive is the best option which satisfies the blank in the given sentence. Hence the answer is option B. Mathematics and logical reasoning. Write the next number in the series 5, 7, 10, 14, 19, and the next number is what you have to figure out. I think one can easily see that the difference between two consecutive numbers is increasing by 1. So 5 and 7, the difference is 2. 7 and 10, the difference is 3. 10 and 14, the difference is 4. 14 and 19, the difference is 5. So 19 plus 6 should be the next number, which is 25. Hence the answer is option B. Of the 850 students who wrote an entrance examination at a center, 550 did very well in the mathematics and logical reasoning paper, 600 did very well in English language proficiency, and 350 did very well in both. How many did not do very well in mathematics and logical reasoning? A simple question based on the concept of Venn diagrams. So when you make the diagram there, you'll easily figure out that 300 is the answer, and the other options are knocked out. So this question, which was sourced from set theory, particularly Venn diagrams, was a sitter, was an easy question, and one can expect more such questions in the math and reasoning section of TISSNET. General awareness. Now this is one section which is a predominant differentiator. So the questions need to be understood very well, and a strategy to prepare should be devised accordingly. Let's look at the question here. Theodolite is a precision instrument measuring dash. Now it does not require any kind of reasoning, it is only information. If you are sensitive to what is happening around you, you would easily figure out that the answer is option B. It's an instrument which is used to measure vertical and horizontal angles. So option B is the answer. Which of the following was the only woman ruler of Delhi Sultanate? Again, a question which is based on information. This information is historical in nature, and we travel back in time and we talk about the Delhi Sultanate, and therefore if you would be aware of it, you will appreciate the answer is option B, Razia Sultana. Other options will not figure out. Now let's look at the preparation strategy. How should you therefore prepare for TISSNET? The paper can be split into 3 parts: concept driven, practice intensive, and environment sensitive. Mathematics and select areas of English language proficiency are concept driven. Now, concept driven would mean that unless you know the concept, you cannot approach the question. Unless you know the concept of Venn diagrams, it will be difficult to approach a question on this particular topic. Similarly, other areas of maths are also concept oriented. There are certain areas of English proficiency also which require concept awareness, particularly questions on usage of grammar. Logical reasoning and select areas of English language proficiency are practice intensive. Reasoning is one domain which requires you to practice across similar questions. If you have previously worked on questions on pairing, on coding, on relationships, questions which require analytical approach, you would be better off handling these questions. And of course, there are areas in English language proficiency like reading comprehension which are purely practice driven. General awareness is environment sensitive, but if we look at the TISS NET, the previous years, we probably appreciate that this includes a wide diversity of topics to prepare, which we will reflect in a subsequent slide. All right, this is it. General awareness, thrust areas, current events. Now, this would of course include events of contemporary importance. So whatever is happening in different domains, at least the last 1 year, one should be comfortable with all that information. Significant political events or political information. Now, this is one of the key question areas in TISS NET, questions from polity. So polity and civics would become extremely critical here. And of course, current political events are also included here. History, both India and world. We've seen questions on which river bank was a Battle of Plassey fought, and then we had a question on the French Revolution in one of those previous years. Geography and general geology. Sociological awareness, so social sensitivity and the concept of family, society, etc. needs to be appreciated. Economic processes. Economic processes, of course, starting with something as basic as different types of economy, like mixed economy, like public and private sector, an understanding of all these dimensions for the world, and particularly the Indian economy is very important there. Literature, we've had questions on books and authors, we've had questions on specific contributions made by different authors there. World-known personalities covering all the domains. If somebody of a particular level has made a specific contribution to a particular area, this has to be appreciated and you may be tested in the TISSNET on this particular aspect. Fine arts and music worldwide includes areas like dance forms, includes painting, and therefore questions on the famous painters, India and world. So similar questions need to be prepared here. Films across the world that have been subjects of debates, including actors who have made significant contribution. So all this is a huge challenge for the TISS aspirant. So one needs to structure the preparation in a certain way. We suggest that you split this into two areas, static and current. Static, all the areas, all the domains which I mentioned should be revisited, and dynamic or current would be contemporary news and events. Mathematics and logical reasoning, the thrust areas based on previous years. Basic geometry, basic set concepts, time, speed and distance, ratio and proportion, basic algebra, simultaneous equations, number theory, and then logical reasoning, which would include identifying patterns in number sets, relationships, determining validity of conclusions based on given premises. Basically, what I want to put across is that the math and reasoning section has not been tough in terms of difficulty level, but the multiplicity of topics, if you look at that, is what one has to appreciate. So on one side we have geometry, on the other side we have algebra, and then we have set theory, etc., etc. So one needs to prepare accordingly. English proficiency, thrust areas, word analogies, vocabulary with questions on appropriate pairing of words and antonyms, rearranging sentences, and reading comprehension. So if you look at the three areas on which you're being assessed, we recommend the following approach: the CAT approach. C for concepts, A for application, and T for test taking. You have to make sure that the concepts are in place. Once the concepts are in place, you have to graduate to the next level, which is applying them in the context of certain questions. And then, of course, test taking strategies where Bullseye would give you similar tests over the previous years. So if you practice across those tests, you have a better understanding of the past trends, and of course you also get to practice across newer formats. So test taking is where it eventually makes a difference. We have seen the best of students goofing up in this particular domain in taking a test. So test taking strategies need to be in place. Skills which you need to develop: time management. Since you have three sections, you have to look at how to split time across these three sections. Prioritization: which section should you begin with, and which question in that particular section should be the first one. And then, of course, balancing between accuracy and speed. Whereas accuracy is a measure of your effectiveness, speed will capture the essence of your efficiency, and both are important for you to come across as a more evolved and successful test taker. We hope that these inputs help you in bracing up for TISSNET. Wish you all the best.